Hey everyone, so I wanted to do a quick video on an easy crop to grow in Florida, and that is the green bean. So in this area here we have 5 teepees per row, and we have a total of 6 rows. And then we put 3 green beans per pole on each teepee. So we got quite a bit of plants here, and the reason we do that is we want to ensure that we have enough to put in the freezer. Green beans can grow in this sandy soil without a lot of nutrients. And the reason for that is so they're nitrogen fixing, they're pulling nitrogen out of the air. So they're actually good for building up your soil. You can use those, you can plant them in an area, and then you can follow them up in another planting season with like tomatoes or cucumbers or something like that, because they're nitrogen fixing, they're good for your soil. The thing is when you go to remove them, just don't pull the roots out, because the rotting of the roots is what injects the nitrogen into the soil. Plant these in September, most likely, and then harvest them, and then in the same area we'll plant sugar snap peas through the winter. The sugar snap peas like that cold weather. The cooler the better for them. And then we'll follow that up with green beans in the spring. Roughly, I think we did a little too late this year. You probably could get away with putting them in the ground, getting them going in February. But we had a warm winter, so our sugar snap peas took a little longer to harvest. The cooler the better for the sugar snap peas, but because of the warmer winter, we couldn't harvest those sugar snap peas as early as we wanted, and so we ended up planting the green beans in March. And so here we are in the end of May, almost June, and I just harvested a big bag of green beans here, and so we probably will not have much more production beyond this. So we're probably not going to get as much as we wanted, probably not have a lot for the freezer this time around, just because we planted a little later, probably. Get them in the ground. If you can even pull it off in January, get them started. They may do okay. You do run the risk of a late cold snap. But the longer they have to grow, the better. As far as watering, you can get away with not watering too often. We make sure if we hadn't had rain, we water them at least every 2 or 3 days. Now our sprinkler, I'll show you. So they do like water. They do better with water. But our sprinkler doesn't do a good job of getting back to this TP. So you can see the lushness over there where it's getting a lot of sprinkler water, and then right here where it doesn't get a ton. So that's one thing you just make sure that they do get water. Another thing, again, we're in our situation, we keep these TPs in the ground here. You see the string on them; those are for the sugar snap peas. You don't have to have string on them. The sugar snap peas need those to climb. They can't really climb around these poles, but the green beans will climb on the poles without a problem. So you don't need string. You just need to get some TPs made. And we bought bamboo off of Amazon, or you could just other things. We've used other materials. Let me show you here. So we've used like different trees. You can see this one's all bent up. Well, it's kind of hard to tell, but that's just some different limbs that have fallen in the yard. They were sturdy. They would, you obviously will replace those at some point because they're going to break down. But a good long limb will do just fine, and it doesn't really have to necessarily be that straight. And then you can just tie it up here at the top. Stick them in the ground. You're going to get you a hammer and kind of nail it down in at an angle, and then bring all 4 poles together and then tie it, and then you have yourself a TP. You can also use bull panel or fencing or whatever. They'll climb up that just fine. Another thing that we do, so we do not till this area. Essentially what we do is before we plant them, we'll have to go through and weed. We just pull out the weeds, and then just plant directly into the soil. And then on the paths here between the teepees, I put wood chips down. So the wood chips, we're not planting in the wood chips, but they do provide a source of moisture because these wood chips hold water very well. So I'll show you right here. Well, let me put it out here to see how moist that is. It's a nice hot day, but it's still nice and moist under there. Wood chips do a great job. And so the plant, so we're planting it, it's right here, kind of off the wood chips. And so it kind of has, its roots will extend out to the wood chips and pull moisture. The reason why we don't plant directly into the wood chips is because I've noticed that there's some bugs that like to hang out in the wood chips, and they'll eat your plants. They'll eat it, at the stem. A young green bean, they'll eat it right there at the stem. And then another reason is that wood chips are kind of compact, and it may obscure the roots from shooting down in. So you just plant beside the wood chips. Use your wood chips in your path. As the wood chips break down, it'll also help introduce some nutrients into the area, so your plants can take advantage of that. So no-till. So in my case, I'm doing no-till, and I'm just wood chips or pulling out weeds. You plant these, yeah, this is what we're doing every spring and every fall. Easy to grow. They don't need much nutrients. We're not fertilizing or nothing like that. I mean, the wood chips, I guess you can consider that as a form of fertilizer. Long term, because of the breakdown and the microbiology, breaking it down, the worms, breaking it down. But right here is again is what I've picked today. This will probably be our main crop. Because it's hot, I may not get too many more opportunities to pick after this. But the thing is make sure you should be able to pick several times. Under normal conditions. If this was if we just shifted back a month, we probably would have been able to pick multiple times, and every time it would have probably been a bag like this or larger. I urge you to try different varieties. So there's this variety here is a huge, and some of them are more beany, and some of them have more of the flesh of the green bean pod. So me and my wife tend to like the ones that are more beany, but we have several different varieties. See, we even got a pink variety and a purple variety. Well, they're actually mixes. Because we've had these so long together, they just kind of mixed. Some of the varieties have kind of proven to be more dominant, but so here's one I would say was more beany. You see, looks like it's got a lot of bean to it and less of the flesh from the pod. So, but yeah, just try different varieties, and in our case, we're letting them mix all up, and we'll eventually, I guess, have our own variety here. Probably already do. But if you want success in your Florida garden, I would highly recommend growing green beans. Starting out with something easy like a green bean, and so make sure you're not planting in the summer. That's one big piece of advice. Is you're dealing with humidity, the heat. Whenever you do have days where it's not cloudy and raining, you have some intense heat, and it may be too much for your green bean plant. Then also is that the nematodes are in full swing in the soil. The root knot nematodes will be boring into the roots of your plant and siphoning off nutrients and killing the plant. And some of your vegetable varieties have some nematode resistance. Corn is one of them, but green beans is not. And actually, a lot of your vegetable varieties, especially for northern European vegetables, they're not nematode resistant, so they don't do as well in Florida. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it, and God bless.